Hi everyone, it's Miss Brenner. I'm here to go over with you step 3 of our Pathways for To Kill a Mockingbird. This is going to be our final step as we're finishing up the novel To Kill a Mockingbird. This is a final essay. The rough draft is going to be due on Wednesday, May 5th at 11:59 p.m. and your final assignment will be due on Tuesday, May 11th at 11:59 p.m. The goal is set for learners through the drafting process and completion of the final essay is to evaluate personal opinions in comparison to the factual data collected through research while finding common ground within the discussions shared by the community of our classroom. So students will pick one of the following essay prompts listed below to structure their final written response demonstrating their knowledge of the novel To Kill a Mockingbird. Their understanding of the pathways completed, either mental health, class structure, or racial tension, their ability to complete personal research geared towards discovering statistically accurate information from reliable sources, and their ability to conduct open conversations within the classroom learning community to invite opposing opinions in order to find common ground. So there are 3 different options for this essay. Each one is geared towards different styles of analyzing the novel. And so let's start off with option 1. The question is, how is the narrative meaning the underlying thematic intention of the writing in the novel To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee still relevant 60 years after publication? How does Harper Lee succeed in addressing a variety of thematic issues that have impacted society throughout history, and which of the pathways, so those would be thematic issues, addressed to you as the reader connect with most in the novel? To Kill a Mockingbird. Explain your chosen pathway and how you connect with or disagree with the tone of Harper Lee's writing within the novel surrounding this topic. Use evidence collected through the pathways, your personal research, and evidence from your conversations collected throughout the Socratic discussions. So, for this question, you will need to create a thesis statement, and this is my example thesis statement. You do not have to use this. This is just me reiterating how to create a thesis surrounding that question, because your thesis statement should restate the question, give your opinion, and explain 3 reasons typically as to why you feel the way that you do. So it would be because, and then you list 3 reasons. So my thesis statement for this specific question is the narrative of the novel To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee from the perspective of, and then I'd insert whichever the pathways I wanted to analyze the story from, so that would be either mental health, race tension, or class structure, is still relevant to society today because, and then I would list off my 3 reasons. Now remember, reason 1 should be your middle of the road reason, reason 2 would most likely be your weakest reason, and reason 3 is going to be your strongest. Option 2. The next question is, how is Harper Lee's writing an essential literary piece within the education system, and why should we continue to discuss the topics central to the novel with future generations? Explain your perspective on instructional use of the novel To Kill a Mockingbird and how Harper Lee's writing within the novel creates a benefit to discussions held within the learning community. Use evidence collected throughout the pathways, your personal research, and evidence from your conversations collected through the Socratic discussions to support your belief that this novel is an asset to the foundation of a well-structured education. So for this question, once again, I gave an example of a thesis. You do not have to use this. This is just me trying to support your understanding of how to properly create a thesis statement. All of my suggested ones are 3-pronged thesis statements. You do not have to form them this way. I just find it to be the easiest for your reader to follow. So for this question, I form my thesis to say, Harper Lee, the author of To Kill a Mockingbird, successfully resonates with a modern audience due to her, and then you would insert your opinion about her writing style there. That might be due to her strengths in character building. It might be her ability to use language in an emotional manner. But you are inserting your opinion about the author's writing here, and continues to be an influential writer for modern readers because, and you list your 3 reasons. So I would recommend, there is a third option, but hold on one second. Option 1, I would recommend if you particularly have an interest in the different types of pathways and you found one of the content areas particularly engaging. Option 2, I would use if you find To Kill a Mockingbird, the novel, particularly engaging. And then option 3 is geared toward our conversations and the idea that we should have more open conversations. So option 3, the question goes, how were you and the members of the learning community able to find common ground related to one of the many central topics discussed in the novel To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee? Were there times where the group struggled to unite on the topic, and how did this create a more engaging conversation? What were these disagreements, and how were they related to the novel? Were there times where the group unanimously agreed within the conversation, which created a sense of trust and understanding? How were these moments related to the novel? Do you feel these conversations are valuable and should be encouraged beyond the classroom? You're going to explain your chosen pathway, so the thing that centered your discussion, and how you connect with or disagree with the tone of Harper Lee's writing within the novel surrounding this topic. Use evidence collected throughout the pathway, your personal research, and evidence from your conversations collected throughout the Socratic discussions to support your belief that this novel is an asset to the foundation of a well-structured education. Alrighty, so this is my last example of a thesis statement, so related to the third option, which would be centered around the concept of Socratic discussions and having more open discussions in society, not specifically just our classroom, but in society as well. I created this thesis statement to say, as a learning community, we struggle to find common ground in relation to, or you could say, as a learning community, we excelled at finding common ground in relation to, and then you would insert a specific idea in relation to a central topic. So depending upon your pathway, there might have been a different form of conversation that took place that you felt was particularly important to you, and that they should openly discuss the topic of, you would insert the topic of the pathway, more often because, and you would list your 3 reasons as to why you think it is vital to continue talking about these central topics that were found within the novel To Kill a Mockingbird. When we are in class together, if you have further questions about how to create the thesis, how to structure your research, how to determine what you want to write about, please feel free to ask me. I would be happy to go over examples with you, come up with ideas with you, but those are the basic structures of the questions and the basic structures of example theses that I have for you. So let's talk about the basic structure of the essay. Your essay must include a minimum of 600 words. That's approximately 2 pages, but please keep in mind that will depend upon your wording, the structure. So please, while you are writing, check to see how many words you have. That does not include your header. That does not include your title. That includes specifically the paragraphs that you are writing. Do not include your citations in the 600 words. The 600 words are specifically your writing. It needs to be Times New Roman font, 12-point font, double-spaced, with a proper MLA heading in the top left corner. So when I say that, that does not mean in your header, but in the top left corner, it should have your first name, last name, and all the other things that will be included in a Purdue OWL link on Schoology. So please make sure that you reference that. And then a proper header in the top right corner listing last name and page number. So a header is different than your heading, and that will also be through Purdue OWL. Oh no, we're going to have announcements? Alright, I'm just going to continue. An introductory paragraph. So your essay must include an introductory paragraph, and as you might have guessed, that means that there must be a thesis statement aligning with / restating the central purpose of the essay question. So, as already stated before, a 3-pronged thesis statement means that you rewrite the intention of the question, you add your viewpoint, and then say because, and list your 3 central statements that you're going to talk about. Your first statement will be addressed in your first body paragraph. in the essay and will contain the medium level of evidence. So it should be, if we were going to rate your paragraphs as to which one is your strongest argument, the first body paragraph would be the middle of the road body paragraph as far as strength of evidence. Your statement 2 will be addressed in your second body paragraph or paragraphs, I'll get to that in a second, in the essay, and will contain the lowest level of evidence. So this would be your weakest evidence. Statement 3 will be addressed in your third body paragraph in the essay and will contain the highest level of evidence, or your strongest. You need to have a minimum of 3 body paragraphs. However, you may format your essay to be composed of multiple paragraphs outside of the typical 3 body paragraphs. But you cannot have one long page with no paragraphs. You need to have multiple paragraphs that correlate to your different statements in your thesis statement. Now that means that you might end up with 5 body paragraphs because maybe your statement for 1 and statement for 3 were so strong that you needed more than 1 paragraph for each of those statements, and that is perfectly fine. However, you cannot have just a 1 paragraph essay that is long. Alright, you must also have in-text citations. That would be your typical necessary information that was not originally your own idea, including the conversations held during the Socratic discussions. So on Schoology, there's a link that says how to cite interviews. That is a link that tells you exactly how to cite your Socratic discussions that you had, which is why we took notes on what our group members had to offer to demonstrate that we were listening, that we were engaged in what other people felt and were saying, that we were having open conversations with our members, even if we don't agree with the members of our group, so that way we can come and find common ground, which is essential for this essay. This essay is centered around the idea that we may not always agree with our community. However, we need to find a balance between our opinion, factual information, and therefore find common ground. Alright, you must also have a minimum of 6 sources. So this would be a minimum of 2 Socratic discussion sources. So that means 2 times that you had discussions with 2 separate members from your groups, either during our first Socratic discussion or our second Socratic discussion. You would have 1 source that would be the novel To Kill a Mockingbird. And then your 3 other sources should be research either from the pathways or from your own personal discussions during the Socratic. So remember how you had to put resource slides in from my questions? You could use information from those. That is perfectly fine, but you need to have a total of 6 sources minimum. You also need a conclusion paragraph that encourages open conversation about the central topic. So your conclusion needs to address everything that you covered, and it needs to use language that is encouraging and open, so that way we will hopefully have more conversations in the future. Your citation page must meet the MLA format expectations. Once again, I will have links to Purdue OWL, and I do recommend that you use EasyBib, just like we discussed when we went to the library. Alrighty, so that's everything for the basic directions. If we look at the rubric, your rubric for this essay is 40 points. It's separated into different sections. The first 2 sections are 10 points. There's also another section that is 10 points. However, I'm going to get to that in just a minute. So first we have ideas and explanation related to the stories. Those are 10 points is the max for that section. Your essay contains a clear and complex narrative and thesis. At least 3 of its ideas and explanations are insightful, thorough, convincing, varied in strategy, and strongly supported by compelling evidence. So that is the highest number of points for that section, and it goes down from there. Organization and project directions. Essay has a clear introduction, body, and conclusion with topic sentences. Essay uses appropriate transitions between and within paragraphs for consistently clear, smooth, and logical relations among ideas. If we scroll down, this bolded section is still worth 10 points, just like the first 2 sections. However, This has to do with the fact that your rough draft is due on Wednesday, May 5th at midnight, well, 11:59 p.m.